All right, guys. Tonight, it's the three amigos again. We got the three C's of destruction. We got Colin, Corey, and myself, Cody. Man, I gave him a countdown and he's still playing with his camera. Can you believe this guy? Man,
Yeah, it's
some
almost
people.
falling down again.
So,
Computers.
anyways, we're gonna do a follow up tonight on what was that, Colin?
There's just stuff going on in the Caribbean that should be. I mean, I think it's garnering a lot of attention. I don't think there's a lot of people that watch the news that don't know about it, but it looks like one of the biggest array. Like I haven't seen assets arrayed on the naval assets at this scale before. Like, are
Not,
you sure
not
there's
ne-
three carriers down there? That's what I heard. I don't. Four?
4 carriers.
well. Depends on what you call it. There are
Yeah, one of those
three.
coastal landing ships for like
They have
helicopters and
three landing platform um, docks. No, I have two landing platform docks and one landing platform, whatever. Basically, it's a land. They don't have a dock in it, but they look like mini carriers. And then they have the uh, what is it? They have the Gerald Ford down there that
right.
they
They
just got
they
in.
can send off like F-35s, like
Yeah, the
and
Harrier styles
yeah,
helicopters, and they have Harriers, helicopters, and yeah, they're flat tops, but they look like they're actually the same size as like a World War II carrier.
yeah. No, I know
So
what you're talking about. I was confused by those when I was a kid. I was like, what's this all about? But
yeah.
um, anyway, well, first, I mean, Cody, it says you've watched some stuff about it. I kind of like to hear where you're kind of at.
Well, I think it's impressive that they reactivated a military base for all of this stuff. They also have put in the everyone's getting a lot of attention to the army. I mean, to the Marines, but the army's been sending a lot of people down there too, and they have three places where they're staging troops on the island. So they're flying into there's an old Air Force base on the northeast side. No, yeah, the northeast side of the base of the island. That was an old Air Force base. That's where all like a lot of the Air Force guys are staying, but all the like the fighter jets and the sea lot of the other assets are at the old, well, I guess it's not old, but it's the Roosevelt Roads Naval Station. I don't know what they're going to call it because actually it's station staffed by a lot more Air Force people from what it looks like. But I've been like, the thing that I find interesting that no one's talking about is when you look at sea traffic, there is about, I can count, I had them written down. I've counted at least four different, and Colin's going to like this, ships from the Netherlands down there.
Mm-hmm.
They're like
Are there any other
rec-
Europeans running around?
I haven't I haven't seen any other European nations down there other than the Netherlands or the Dutch. So
Hmm.
that's our recurring theme. But
And it will
and
continue to be.
then they here, this is, let me see if I can get this to come up. Ship tracker.
So I guess the overall story of what's happened. So just for context, Maduro, commie bad guy. This is just I'm just going off a basic news narrative. That overthrew the legally elected person. This was like 2 or 3 years ago, and he was
Well,
Western backed.
he didn't step down.
No, they just stopped the voting, and
Yeah.
like
When he was losing
they
this.
openly
Yeah.
stole it. Like it wasn't even a secret. They didn't even pretend. They just cut the voting off, and Maduro was president. That was it. Um, so, and they just did that again for this last election that just took place with that young girl that got the Nobel Peace Prize for, coincidentally for being a hero or whatever. but she's the girl that was running for president for that or is running for president for Venezuela. I forgot her name, but uh so they just took that election. She was polling like 85%, at least that's what we're hearing. So there is a prepped environment for change already down there. So there's like a lot of things that have happened all like timed all accordingly for this. The elections just took place. People are angry. Um, there's propaganda going every which way. Some people like go down there, they say, no, it's all great, everything's awesome. Like, but there's not a whole lot of like tourism, like YouTube tourists that walk around. I can't really find any. I kind of use those to like get ground's eye look at certain cities and places, especially in China. That's fascinating to see what it's actually like. It's very strange. Um, it looks really clean and really nice just as a non sequitur, but it's like, but there's this weird dystopian crawl to it. It's very eerie. Um, but as far as Venezuela goes, all the data I've seen, it seems that the people aren't doing so good.
Well, 10 years ago, they were talking about how, there's no rat population left in the country because
Yeah.
everyone's eating them.
Yeah. And I mean, we effectively did control international trade around there, but they still, I mean, in recent years, I think that's what allowed them to kind of start this resurgence or have that. I don't know. I don't know what happened. Um, but anyway, they're effectively blockaded. They are the opening to the Caribbean. Um,
Well,
so
they're at the very bottom of it. Yeah.
yeah, the bottom of the mouth of the Caribbean, and then you got the Trinidad and Trinidad and whatever those islands right there. That island chain going up through the Bahamas, and then that rounds up into Florida. So that's the gateway to the Caribbean. Um, what I think is happening is they're making a move to finally, and there's been a lot of talk about the Monroe Doctrine. I think this is the next level of that. They need to control those spaces militarily, so they're probably going to take the ports. If they don't cut a deal with Maduro, the problem is even if they cut a deal with Maduro, he's got all his sub lieutenants, and they can all go rogue and do their own thing. So they need to figure out who to cut a deal with, who to knock off. I do feel like it's unlikely that they get everyone to play ball. I feel like there's going to be some static going on. So probably airstrikes, taking out certain things, and it'll be an escalatory ladder. We'll like see what they do. Start running air sorties just to get air and shoot at them, stuff like that, and then just kind of go up the escalation ladder. And in the meanwhile, send in guys in you know black body armor with quiet weapons to go kill a bunch of people.
The thing that's very interesting I've been watching this since Desert Storm on and off is this buildup. I've never heard them talk about like what they have on site by like the president saying, "Hey, this is what we got." So like,
Yeah,
yeah.
there there's another angle to this. This is not really about Venezuela per se. It's not just about that location. So I was mentioning this notion of the Devil's Legion. So when was Venezuela overthrown? It was back in the 70s. That was like one of the first CIA coups that took place and started all these, um, started installing and uninstalling revolutionaries and destabilizing South and Central America in the 70s. The war on drugs, and then went well into the 80s. But I mean, all these cartels were effectively set up I mean, they're the last ones in there. They're the ones that I mean, the CIA ended up controlling all of or Central and South America.
Yep.
So all these guys, if they want to access to the financial markets to wash their money, their liaison is going to be intelligence to give them security with the bankers. That's the only way they can have a sustainable way to get their funds out. So, and where are all those black money operations? Pretty much most of them are in the Caribbean. So General McRaven wanted to set up SOCOM as its own branch in the military, like basically peel it off from the general structure so they could conduct their own operations. And he's the guy that actually set up one of the groups that I worked for during the whole I don't know, this soft cold civil war we got going on in America. Um, and he basically said that, I mean, he stood that up because he understood that the CIA was running operations that were in the dark, and a lot of their assets were basically given cover to run illegal operations to feed information back. And I mean, the idea is if you can't get rid of gangs or their logic is, then we'll control them. Better we control them than let them all run, have total anarchy. The reality is you can't allow these things won't exist if you don't allow them to exist. That's really the answer. If you cut their money, especially today, like I could see like 100 years ago or 150 years ago when you could keep all your money off the grid and you could be that underground maybe, but now it's impossible. You can't do it. So
Holy
all
crap!
criminal, go ahead.
Have you ever? No, I mean, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
No, it's fine.
there has been 7 dictators since 1908 in that country. They've
It's
never had
actually
a
lower
real.
than I thought, but
Well, that if you type
7.
in, yeah,
you
the
mean
first one.
dictators, like just dictators or elected people? Like, what are you talking about?
Well, like the first guy was, I can't even pronounce his name.
No, I'm saying, are these the
Castro.
total leaders?
Yeah,
Like
these are the.
all known leaders since the '08?
Well, that's what is. If I'm reading this right, lists of.
I'm making a distinction between leaders and just dictators. Is there a difference? Or are you saying all of them are dictators?
Well, it looks like everyone who's gotten in there has become a dictator.
Well,
You
yeah,
know,
I'm
because
agree they are. That's not my. I'm never mind. That's all right. I'm sure that's all of them. So 7.
yeah,
That's interesting.
Since 1908 or 2008.
1908. Hugo
That's a long
Chavez's
time.
government's been in there since the Hugo Chavez did a coup back in '02. And that's basically when he took over. He was elected in
Yeah.
there, but he became a communist dictator. So it's from what I'm looking at, I could be reading this wrong. That's what Wikipedia says.
Yeah, it was one of the guys. I think it was Juan Guaido. Yeah.
But if you type in coup in Venezuela, I mean, technically it goes all the way back to the 1800s, like the 1820s when they kicked out the
Yeah,
Spanish.
I'm talking about the specific coup that the CIA ran, the first one.
Let me see.
Um, anyway, it doesn't matter. They did, and basically, um, and I've heard this from multiple people, including military generals that were in like high level intelligence. I mean, relative high level intelligence. So, um, that are willing to go on the internet. So they go on the internet, they're willing to go public. So that may be a red flag, but still, generally the consensus is um, Venezuela is kind of like the Ukraine for all the criminal activity in the Western Hemisphere. It's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
it's like a major hub of financing, and which makes sense with its access to the Caribbean and the Atlantic Ocean, just for trade purposes. That makes it's a good kind of depot for intel and money and weapons trafficking. They got two big ports, and a lot of stuff goes missing in those ports.
Well,
So
the other thing too is if you want to ship stuff from North America to South America, you basically go into Panama, put it on a ship, and you either decide, do I want to go to Colombia and come into the continent, or do I want to go to Venezuela and come in? Because the Pan American Highway is supposed to go through there, but you can pick it up in both countries and then start through South America if you want to go north to south. Because of the Darien Gap, you can't get through that.
yeah,
No, the Dare. So
not for
and
long, not until they get this road built.
if they ever do.
They're making pretty good progress. I mean, it's not like they could never do it. We have the technology and we have the ability to build a road there, especially given the amount of money that would be made from that. Like it would fund itself. It wouldn't be a problem.
1958 was the first CIA overthrow of Venezuela.
And who was the leader again?
Oh, Marco. Yeah, my reading skills aren't real good, so it's Mark.
Okay, that's not who I thought it would be. Interesting. Okay.
And then the second one was the CIA was aware they tried to overthrow Hugo Chavez, I guess.
Yeah, tried, or I don't know, who knows. At this point though, all these guys that are allowed to run based on how the Cold War evolved, they're either, I mean, the idea is that they're either working for the Chinese or they're working for deep state United States or intel service United States. But those two,
Yeah.
the question I personally have is how merged are those two entities really? And is there a faction still on our side that's partnered with the Chinese to basically deal with the counter revolution going on in here? You know, like are basically Democrats and all these guys paid insurgents by the Chinese? Like, I mean,
Well, you know they have to be.
I mean,
It's
to an
just the way
extent, clearly, but I mean, they got honeypots all over the place. And a bunch of people are falling for that in Washington, and like that's like well known. Like they got Chinese sex operatives all over the place. Um, anyway, it's so I don't know. That's one. I don't know to what extent though that's propaganda, because there is a faction in the United States that wants to take this war to the Chinese or to China. Like after we deal with our internal problems and um, get control of the government, like the next war is with China basically, and they're trying to create. I suspect, and I even suspect Steve Bannon of that may be what he's doing. Is he's kind of doing a shaping operation for the future. I mean, he's obsessive. He's like one of the 4 people that were sanctioned by the Chinese Communist Party, meaning they could do. There's like no one in America that has that sanction on them. It's like him, Pompeo, Matt Pottinger, I think, and Peter Navarro,
they
and that's it.
sanctioned.
Yeah,
I
like the
didn't know they
Chinese sanctioned those guys, like
like
open,
we do
like
to the Russians. Yeah.
yeah, but they like cut them off. Like no Chinese, like they can do zero business with anyone Chinese, anything under their control. They're excommunicado. Like, and that
Wow.
includes like third parties. Like if they have a bank that does a certain business, they may get a string pulled, things like that, and they're all over the place. So I don't know. I don't know how much it really affected them, but it is kind of like an aggressive act, you know, against certain citizens. Like I don't think we've done that to anyone in China.
Well, we've done it to a lot of people in Russia.
Oh yeah. Yeah, people that we can get away with it. We can do that.
Well, yeah. I guess turnaround's fair play, though. I guess that's what I
Yeah, but
would
they kind of
say.
had us over the barrel at that year during that time. So,
Yeah, that's pretty true.
I mean, they still do in reality. Like if the information's correct that I'm looking at, which are the official statistics they put out, which, you know, if you've ever watched 1984, that's like, you know, the opening scene is of a guy changing newsprint articles in Lifetime. So I'm just always I just, especially statistics, I just don't, it's almost impossible to tell. But I'm talked a lot. Anyone else got?
No, we're good. You want
Well,
me that?
one of the things that I found interesting about Venezuela and Colombia, Colombia is probably one of the, it's the hot spot for cocaine and all that kind of stuff. Um, and it's one of the 3 places. And I found out that Venezuelans can go down to or go over to Colombia,
Mhm.
um, on a passport or a passport that's been expired for 10 years. They could stay up to 90 days, and a visa is not required. I was like, okay. Colombia's can't do that. They have to have a proof of valid passport and all that kind of stuff. And I was like,
Yeah.
it's very easy for Venezuelans to go across.
When I was down at the border,
And they have
go ahead, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, that's adding to your point. When I was down at the border, there were everyone that was coming across was Venezuelan, all of them.
The U.S. border?
Yeah, when I was down there a couple years ago. I mean, there were exceptions, but while I was there, people we talked to, Venezuela. I would just say Venezuela. I'd just go down the row and ask, like, just look them on. They all go, So now they might have been nodding, but it's weird. Most of them don't want to be associated with Venezuela, like other countries. Like, no, Colombia, or whatever. So they would correct you. So that was kind of something I noticed. I thought that was interesting, but they do seem to have an ability to transport themselves around more fluidly than other Central American, Southern American states, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think the Chinese have a lot to do with that, if anyone does. And our CIA, when I say CIA, it's just colloquial, the break off groups within CIA or IC or DIA or all the intel service, the 22, 25 intel services that we know of, and not counting all their subsidiaries. I mean, you remember that station I talked about during the JFK episode? They had employed at their height 285,000 people, contractors, subcontractors, everybody. That's a lot. That's an army.
A lot of
that's a big army.
Yeah.
And that was for one CIA station. And that's the question. How do they fund all this stuff? They're the clearinghouse for the drug trade. Cocaine cowboys. I mean, all this stuff is on record. We've known.
I've met people through my friend Bob that said that, what was it? Iran Contra is very, very similar to how they get their money to play with a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I've been reading about USA coming in there and doing a lot of stuff, that was their backdoor method. And I guess USAID has been that way since day one.
Chase Bank.
Chase Bank, what's that?
Chase. CHASE.
Yeah, JP Morgan. JP Morgan is, and like when you understand the origin of the CIA was the OSS, but it was started by a bunch of Wall Street lawyers. But these guys weren't super spies; they were Wall Street lawyers, and they weren't even traders. They were the lawyers. So they were the guys that cut the deals and write the contracts for everything. That's like their training and like so they had high level systems analysis and awareness. They're actually ideal for regime change operations. And if you look back at, whenever we had a coup, we always had, there was always some corporate interests involved making money because it was a business model. The whole thing was designed to be self-sustainable. And that's how they got black project operations to be self-funded. Drug trade, theft, basically all crime, massive crime you could think of. Everything and anything, they get the kickback. And you see this in a bunch of movies and but it's well documented at this point that that's effectively how mostly the CIA, and this isn't like the main division that would probably be in the nice office building and doing the thing. Like this is like stuff that's almost built in, and these deals are made by very few people on back doors through corporations that already exist.
Yeah.
That don't even know that they're kicking back or running cover. Like a lot of these banks, like they effectively got spun up and started and placed by Central Intelligence assets, probably back in the 80s. Now they're just a normal bank. They don't know. They just manage clients, and it's just built into the bureaucracy.
Did you see that movie American Made with Tom Cruise?
No, but I
Yep.
know the story. Like I know that actually. Yeah, Barry
I've met
Seal.
the guy who wrote that book, was Bob's friend. And you've met him too, because he was at that funeral with Bob, at Bob's funeral. Remember when we're sitting at that table, me and you and those guys
Yeah,
that were all around us? Yeah. And
one
I
of
said,
those guys.
weren't you a pilot to that one guy? And he goes, yeah, I did some things. Yeah. It's that was that guy.
Yeah, and it seems like out of that movie, it had some reality.
Yes, big time.
Oh, it was
Well, it's
real.
based on a true
Even that
story.
airport,
That happened.
that was a real story.
But
Like,
yeah, but it
he
didn't.
had to write the book to keep the CIA from killing him.
Yeah.
That's the only reason that book came to light, is because if he didn't write the book, then there would be no documentation and the CIA was going to kill him.
There's a lot of
So
people that have done that. It's the safest bet sometimes is to go full public and just bury your ass. And then it's like, if they kill you, it's like they just they just exposed themselves. So the dangerous part is like your family may have a car accident now, or your family member may have a car accident or whatever. So
your
if you go
brakes
back
fail.
and you Google like a state official car accident, blah, blah, I mean, like it's crazy. Or, I mean, all the cars can be jacked with, brake lines don't work all of a sudden. This happened actually to a friend of mine. Her brake lines were literally cut. Like after we dropped off a VIP from a thing. And she was like, we were just driving him that day just because we were vetted and trusted, and it wasn't anything crazy. It was just driving him to a small airport to his plane. But we parked the cars, and her car was, she took it to the mechanic, and he's like, someone cut your brake lines. Like she barely got there. She had to like pedal it anyway. I don't even know why she did that. She's a freaking lunatic. She drove to the mechanic with no fucking brakes. Anyway,
That's a good story.
yeah. But just to say, there's so there are stories out there that people that have gone public, but there's so many people that are threatened right now. This is like there's a series, just like a series of articles, small booklet written by Whitney Webb, who I have massive issues with. She annoys the crap out of me, but it's a good series. It's called One Nation Under Blackmail, and
Ooh.
it does document a lot of the Epstein story and the connections and the money. And she actually does do a lot of the footwork and like of actual information of things that happened. So I do recommend that to kind of, if you want to know more of that story, but it's like a pinhole into how this world operates. And I just don't think people realize how deep it goes. I go downtown in Austin's, well, not really, but when I did, I would often look up at all these office buildings, and I'm like, I bet you 70% of this space, nobody does anything. Or like there may be bodies in there, but they're basically like fake jobs. Like, how like Elon Musk fired, what was it? 8,000.
85%.
Yeah.
85%
85%.
of the company. Yeah.
Like how much of these, how many at that time of these jobs were fake? Like fake. Have you ever seen those YouTube videos of these girls, a day in the life of an Apple employee? And they go and like,
No, it's a day in the life of a Twitter employee.
yeah, that
And they're
too.
sitting
No,
by
they
his
all do them.
poolside. Yeah, sitting poolside, drinking Mai Tais and stuff.
Yeah, they spend like more than half their day. They work about 3 hours a day, like just typing schedules and things that like it's really crazy. I really think that they're basically a way to wash the money. They're not real. They're not real. It's not real jobs. That's what this AI thing I think is a part of a cover for. Like, yeah, it will actually take away some jobs, but I think it'll also be an excuse to just fire a bunch of people that are useless anyway. Because I mean, now they have a redundancy, so they're also there for a redundancy in case they needed the legwork, probably. But I don't, because the more I look at our economy, I don't know how much of it is real anymore. You just have to drive down a main street and be like, how many of these restaurants are unnecessary for our existence, or stores or whatever. It's like, It's what is this? This is a crazy there's no place in the world that is built that looks like the United States of America in terms of
Well,
just stores, like like the types or restaurant chains or all that stuff. It's crazy.
how can you all spend all that money? How can they have so many different the thing that gets me, and this is just a rant real quick. You go down into like Rio Rancho right now, Corey. Have you seen this? How many places are selling chicken? Yeah,
A lot.
there's a lot of chicken stands because you got
Very popular.
yeah,
Chick-fil-A.
in like a 1 mile, like a 3 mile radius, there's probably 4 restaurants selling chicken. At Chick-fil-A, uh, that Stripes and that Southern style
Churches.
chicken. Yeah, there's just tons
Uh
of chicken. The Popeyes.
Or if you look in the little mall strips, like the types of businesses that are in there, like 90 of them are like for boutique what like weird predict or there's a scuba instructor shop, like, okay, that's for like,
Yeah, in the middle of New Mexico. Yeah, like why do
well,
we
no,
have a?
here in Austin, but or like yeah, like a pottery store or like, fine, but there's like no real business, like, like stuff that people like, stores about people making stuff like that's, I mean, yeah, there's industrial districts and whatever, but it just doesn't, it just feels to me like our most of our economy is kind of manufactured. Maybe not most of it, but maybe 30%.
hmm.
I've never
I'm
looked
gonna
at it
have to
like
sit on
that.
that one.
Like
Yeah,
if
I've
those
never.
30% of those places went away, we'd be just fine. Like we literally wouldn't notice. I'm being
The people
generous
that
with that
own them
number.
would.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I'm not saying that the people themselves, like I'm not coming after people and saying
No.
they're useless for that. That's not what I'm saying. Everyone has to make a living in this world. Like you do whatever you got to do. So God bless you. I mean, I am not above selling like topaz jewelry. Like I'll do it. Like whatever, if it made money or whatever. What do they
There's a
sell out there?
podcast. There's a podcast where these two or three guys that go around to communist countries and they drink their beer and smoke their cigars.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to remember how many places they had gone when I was watching them. It was 12 places at 12 countries. They said that every single one of them, they had one beer
Yeah,
and one cigar. That was it. And it was the person that was in power they chose.
yeah, because they could only
Nobody
have
else.
one competitor. Everything
Yeah.
was a
I do.
monopoly. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
find it. I've always thought the irony over being criticized by a punk ass kid talking about how great socialism is while he's tweeting on his $1,200 phone, wearing his $200 designer shoes, drinking his $7 drink, telling me how bad capitalism is.
Yeah. My point was not to criticize, like that is a sign of prosperity to have
hmm
optionality
Yeah.
like that. That's not, I'm not against
But
options. I love that.
it's the extreme, right? It's like, how are these business surviving, thriving, right? You have so many, every
Everyone's
corner,
broke
there's
right
tons of
now.
stuff.
Yeah. That's my point, is
Yeah.
everyone's getting broke right now quick. Like everyone I talk to is struggling with money, even rich people, because it's cash. Everyone's been cash flowing themselves. So everyone's kind of screwed, for the most part. And,
Well,
that,
go ahead.
no, go, that's fine.
The one thing that I think everyone's overlooking when you talk about like expense. The problem we had is we had what, all these millions of immigrants coming in, and there has to be places to put their asses. They have to have a place to sleep. They all come in here and they displace all of the Americans or the people that can be here, and that raises the demand of housing. It goes up. The demand of housing goes up. When there's high demand and low supply, the price goes up. one of the unforeseen things too that like we've been seeing around in Las Cruces here is just for fun. I watch like my wife wants to buy a house, so I look at prices. I would say in the last 9 months, the houses the the housing prices have gone down about 10%.
or
Crime has
more.
gone down 10%. I'm being conservative, saying 10%.
Hmm.
Uh, the demand for resources is going down. The supply is going up, and that's going to. It's just you can't. I'm stumbling, but it's just an observation that things are getting cheaper because there's not so much demand on supplies. And don't you
And
find it interesting? Don't you find it interesting? We kick all these people back into Latin America, and now they're over. They're like, screw it. And
I
they're
heard them.
waving.
Go ahead.
They're over. They're going to overthrow. They're trying to overthrow the Mexican government this last weekend.
Well, that was CIA too. That was like openly. They literally all basically said they did that, or they nudged it. Let's say, put it that way. The conditions were there, absolutely, and I do think it's genius. Like if you're going to start running counter revolutions in all these countries, when you start sending hordes backwards the other way, it's actually a great judo flip. It's
That
one of
is.
the like. This is why I got really excited about this, because if they actually do this, this is like a perfect winning strategy if you actually want to secure the United States, which is like we're just not used to seeing people actually doing their job. If that's what this is, because
So you say the
this is
CIA is actually doing what they're supposed to do?
well, CIA is not under. So we saw there's a lot of people inside the government that are active, like they're running, they're trying to sabotage things. You know who Patrick Byrne is? He's a
I can't say.
Overstock CEO. He went around on CNBC a lot, like about 15, 20 years ago and stuff, did
Okay, yeah,
interviews.
yeah.
You probably recognize him. He's been involved in the whole election thing and kind of funding a few things, and he's kind of blown all his money support supposedly. Um, he he has come forward in public like the last few years with kind of an ongoing saga of a story that is crazy. It's up there in the top 5 craziest stories I've ever heard from a personal experience from somebody. It might be number 1, but it's like basically he was like he did a bunch of work like looking for like Wall Street, like for the government. He's a patriot. He's like whatever. He said he loves the Constitution. He had a deathly illness and he fell in love with the Constitution. Thought it was philosophically the greatest thing ever. He's like, the government asked him, or the SEC asked him if they do some investigations for them, and or if you hear anything, and he basically was like kind of a watchdog on Wall Street trying to get the because he saw a lot of corruption from the private sector, which absolutely did happen. So it wasn't all just government, in the 90s and 80s. There's a lot of, private citizens taking advantage of the situation for sure. But he was approached. He was basically said, well, do you want to go do some more fast paced stuff for this other group? And so he basically became an in-between for governments or like an embassy. Like he was kind of a well-known guy. He's a private citizen. He's got his own money. He's got perfect cover to go wherever he wants. And that's kind of like this. And that's kind of what they do. They recruit rich people. Hey, you want to go play spy, and really rich people can be really bored sometimes and they're connected and be like, hell yeah, I'll go do that. Anyway, he was told by John Brennan, through his proxy but he figured out it was John Brennan's proxy, to go plant evidence that Hillary Clinton was or go plant blackmail on Hillary Clinton so that she would drop out of the race with Obama. So that was John Brennan, who ran the CIA for a very long time. And basically, long story short, he said and there's so many more details to this, but they've tried to there's actually a faction that's been working here since the 50s and 60s that have been setting the groundwork for an actual to take over the United States government from within. And then that was a combination of taking over local, school, or taking over the education system, blah, blah, blah. Like the John Birch Society, all the things they talk about without communist infiltration and all that stuff. So he basically said that really happened, and they just overthrew the country back in 2020. That was an actual overthrow. We were overthrown.
So when them putting Biden in there was an overthrow of the government.
Yep.
Makes more sense that
And
way.
often what you'll do if you overthrow your adversary, a way to demoralize the population in the Chinese, and everyone does this actually, you put in what they call a dog king. And a dog king in ancient China, they were like, you conquered, and the Greeks did this, everyone did this. Rome did this. They would, once they conquered a people, they basically say, okay, here's your new king. They put a dog on the throne, put a crown on his head. Be like, you listen to him now, you disobey anything he says, you're dead. So whenever they have a question, there's the security that's managing this. They literally treat them like royalty, and they all have to bow and scrape, and it's a what do you call it? A humiliation ritual to just like break you psychologically, and also piss off, find out who the hardliners are that aren't going to do it, and then whack their heads off, and then you got nothing left but the cowards.
Well, that's what they did that's what they were doing with the military.
Yep.
They found the hardliners and they kicked them all out.
Yep, exactly. Yep. This was all like loyalty testing and stuff, like to kind of, and just through pressure, osmotic pressure, just getting people to decentivize to be pushed out of certain systems. And when I say certain systems, I mean basically all of them at this point. Like, name one institution by government that isn't run by these people. A literal useful idiot. Like from top to bottom almost. Like even into schools all the way down in out in the boonies. In the middle of nowhere. You got nothing but a bunch of college educated females. Because they all needed a job. And they didn't get married because they're annoying.
And then they grow old and die and become cat ladies.
It's sad. Yeah, we're in for a real problem. I'm not kidding. That scares the daylights out of me, because you're going to deprogram those people that never got married, that are going to turn 40.
The scary thing is, not to talk shit up, not to talk total crap about them, but like, look at Candace Owens was one of these people. And she started, like, she got flipped, and look at the intensity she has.
Well, there'll be those for sure. And there's been those, the converts get, that realize how deeply they were taken in, they're like the most hardcore. That for sure happens. If they actually realize
militant when they're so militant when they get flipped.
Some of them.
And
and
not necessarily like, but they're like, it's like watching the first time someone really finds God and they go hardcore Christianity.
Right. Except these people tried to kill us and brainwash us and make us hate each other and overthrow our country. Instead of, I found Jesus in my heart, which is a beautiful, amazing thing that's real. But this is a little bit more visceral, especially if you lost kids in this process. A lot of people lost kids. A lot of people regret being tricked into aborting their kids. They didn't know what they were doing. They realize what they do now. It's like those guys are all hardcore. For the ones that, it's like a way of paying penance to them. I mean, they say this, I don't. And go ahead.
There was a girl I was dating before Angelica that was so emotionally and mentally messed up. And she was just damaged goods. And when she was 19 years old, me and her are the exact same age, and she was 19 years old, she had an abortion, and she's a twin, and she had twins that she aborted. And I remember sitting there listening to the pain that she was going through from that. It was just,
Yeah.
it's horrifying.
Yeah. Like once it's done, you don't like, yeah. I think that happens a lot more than we realize
Yeah.
because
But
I'm
that's
sure.
covered up.
Oh,
Hmm?
yeah. I mean, who's going to
Don't want
report
to have that
that?
narrative out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, one, everyone's going to keep it to themselves. So, yeah, it's the amount of things that people are keeping to themselves that they've been traumatized with because of the system and these people it's hard for me to fathom. But I see it everywhere in people's eyes and faces. People are just barely here. A lot
We
of them,
have the lowest population renewal in U.S. history right now. I think this new generation
for
that
sure.
just got done, it's only like 46 million people were born,
Hmm.
which is not enough. That's what Elon Musk keeps going off about, all this.
So,
We need to have more kids
yeah.
stuff.
And he's technically, yeah, and he's right. Obviously, yeah, he's 100% correct about that. But that's kind of what gives me hope with all this is if like the plan that seemed to be in place, if these other people if the old system maintained in control and this didn't, and there wasn't a real transfer of power to a new entity or a new system,
Hmm.
the trajectory was for us to basically, I mean, be corralled up into the cities and slowly die out Malthusian style. Like
Yeah.
bad food, I mean, what of any of those things would they change? They were going to make the food worse, keep spraying God knows what everywhere. I mean, everything is poisoned. Like if you compare, and I've been to other countries. We're the worst country I've ever even heard of. It's
The
not
way
even
they
close.
clean the way the way they process the flour here is horrible.
Everything. You can't,
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. I mean, because once you see it, people are always talking like, "Well, I eat this, I eat that." I think what they're trying to tell you, some people are virtue signaling, but it's also like, hey, you know that this stuff's poisoned, right? Like, because a lot of people are
I
like, yeah,
can't
everything's poisoned. I'm like, yeah, but this is like really bad stuff, and it's not getting
I can't
better.
believe how much better I've felt since me and you started talking, and I went off seed oils for cooking and went
Yeah,
to uh,
yeah,
tallow, beef tallow, and then tried to cook with natural oils or the way we used to. My digestive system's been better. Not that I need to talk about that, but
yeah,
it's
big
just
time.
been better all the way around.
If you, I mean, if you want to take that to the next level, that methylene blue will help with that. Make that even better.
Now you're starting to sound like Alex Jones, man.
I'm sorry. Everyone's going to be
It
sounding like him soon. So
yeah. It's 100%.
I almost feel like he was a psyop to make people not want to talk about the truth because he's off putting like to the normal person. Like it's like that wants to take information seriously. He's kind of like, it's not
Well,
great most of the time for most because it comes off as entertainment to the average person.
it's not entertainment. What is that shirt? The problem I have now is Alex Jones conspiracies have all come true. What do I believe in next?
No,
You know,
he's become way more like treated more seriously, and he's also calmed down a lot more too. And like he quit drinking, and he's a lot more clear and cogent. Especially when he goes on other people's shows. But Bannon will have him on. Like he's in like alternative mainstream now. Like, um, um, he's not quite to the point where like Newsmax would have him on. I don't think they would. But Newsmax is horrible. Everyone hates him. That's on the other side.
really.
Like, yeah, Newsmax is terrible. Just look who owns it. I forgot who they were, but as soon as you see the owners, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, okay.
I
OAN
thought,
is not great either. It's especially I can just tell from what they push. They're slightly
oh,
better than
One American
Newsmax.
News.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
slightly better than Newsmax, but they've got leashes on them. You could just tell.
What about I read a lot of the Epic Times.
They're better, but they're Chinese as well, which isn't a bad thing. There's different factions in China, but it's just understand the slant that it's coming from, no pun intended. Um,
On the
And
flip side, when you look back at their research, it all matches up. And that is crazy. They're the only ones that was talking about the COVID and all that kind of stuff, and they were right. Yeah,
yeah,
and it was nuts. Yeah.
especially when you read the documents from back, like the old ones where they were like wargaming certain, like the futurists back in the UN days, like wargaming potentials. And if you just read it thinking, oh, they're just spitballing, but then when you go and look at our history, you go check, 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 check. Okay, this is a battle plan. Interesting.
Yeah.
Um, so the kind of that was a good tangent, but basically what I think is happening is that the responsibles in the United States, the ones that realize, that kind of know how things work, realize these people are actually insane and they don't know what they're doing. Like, this plan was thought up by their great grandparents in a totally different time and world, like where things worked completely differently. And it was the Cold War, post World War II era. You know, it's like these are completely different times, but the internal logic hasn't really changed. So that's why they all act
Mm-hmm.
like a hive mind. So there, it's the ghosts of these cold warriors that have never died that are still just running their operating system just on a logic
Well, but
loop.
like Operation Mockingbird isn't that one of the things they were working on too with the media?
Yeah, that's not even hard. You just buy them. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, the original operation was low ball. Let's see if we can get our people to be inside the news media. That's all it was. And then they were like, well, once they got enough money, and it wasn't even them, it's like the families that do business and use the CIA. Like the CIA is like a personal mercenary squad for high level family interests in the United States and Europe, pretty much the Western world.
I've been listening to that book by the the ground branch of the history of the ground branch of the CIA by um what's her name? The lady that did the Area 51 book. Annie
Annie
Jacobs.
Jacobson. Yeah.
Holy crap, man.
Yeah, and her books are legit and they do tell a lot of the story, but it's a limited hangout. She doesn't go into, like, she never goes into institutional corruption.
Well, because when they interviewed her on Sean Ryan, and it makes sense, she wants you to make your own conclusions from what she's telling you. She's a reporter telling you what happened, and what conclusions you draw on is your business.
The
Basically,
the
this
the,
is what
the
happened
problem
from
is
A
that
to.
we do have like actual it's not even evidence. It's like we have like um balance sheets and papers, like we got, like we know exactly who these entities are and what they, I mean, they have the same people that staff, like they move from this branch in the military over here. I mean, the overlap is so obvious at this point, you'd have to be blind to anyone paying attention to that subject matter, which she does. The fact she doesn't even talk about it is, and what conclusions do you come to from any of her books?
That's a good question.
Like, there's none. It's a whole, that's what a limited hangout does. It leads you to, like, she's like, well, you make your own conclusion. Okay, well, what? I don't know. Based on what you just told me, it's an open-ended question. And then you have to get more context. And once you get more context about it, then it's like, I
Yeah.
guess, I don't know. And maybe I'm wrong and being too harsh, but I feel like she's literally a spook. I don't know. Like, or
Well, I
a
don't know.
counter information. Like, because
When
a lot
I
of these
was
people don't actually work for the CIA. They just are kind of given access to the right
like
publishers and the right networks.
it's like Snowden and all that stuff. Yeah.
And they kind of just be themselves, and they don't go, they know when to go too far because their agents will tell them. They literally call them agents. And like, if you look at the campus of CAA, which is the largest acting firm, and actually, it's, I don't know, it's like literally got a giant eye in the middle of it. It's like a
Yeah.
class. Anyway, it's, but do you see how that works? It's not like a conspiracy theory. It's built into the system. It
Yeah.
all is interlocutory.
But What's interesting is Corey can attest to this. When you start reading that book about the Confederate Secret Service, there's been a lot of this stuff in history, even back in the 1860s.
They got taught to do that.
Forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Confederates.
And they keep passing that knowledge down.
It's called doing business.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's really, you want to know what business is? It's this. That's what it really is. Like, you go to Goldman Sachs to like learn how to be corrupt, basically. And like, seriously, they like teach you, they literally see what will you do, and you get promoted for being more ruthless. Like, and they just go, well, it's the money and it's all legal, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
So if you set conditions on the ground to technically be legal, like if you get control of the election systems, you get control of judges, you get control of precedents. Like, once evil is built into the legal system, that's when demons start popping out of people. That's when you start seeing demons actually manifest, because it's in the incentive structure now to be evil, to be a good householder. Like, you work for Chase Manhattan, sorry, you're working for a high demon at this point, technically. Like, it's not just another job. Like, that entity is literally run through the central apparatus to control the planet. It's not a sound business model that's there to like do win-win deals.
Well, you can figure out when you do business with a bank and you try to pull the same tactics on them that they pull on you, how really messed up the whole system is.
Oh yeah.
Because when I had 50 grand after selling my house, and you go to the bank and you're like, well, can you give me more money than 1%? And they're like, well, you have my money in your bank sitting in the bank account that you're making 7% interest on, and you're only paying me 1%. Why should I leave my money in your bank? And when you start acting like a banker back to bankers, they really don't like it at all.
Yeah, but it's normalized. It's how the system works at this point. So that's just how the whole thing works. So this is why something has to change, because if it keeps going the way it's going, we're going to end up committing suicide, culturally, politically, civilizationally. This has happened before. Just look at Europe. It's never gotten better. It's only gotten worse and worse and worse. It's amazing how bad things can get. And the only way they've survived is being hooked up, is using the United States as a financial life raft. And that's why the Europeans are running our intelligence services de facto, or the interests in old Europe. Did I lose you?
No, he just turned off his mic.
Oh, okay.
His daughter is having a conversation with mom.
That's okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
No. So it's, I mean, the OSS guys, they were trained by MI6, right? It was a British operation. The guys, all the CIA guys, and there was a special relationship, right? That came after World War II, or maybe it was before.
I'll be right back.
That's all right. And so, I mean, you've seen The Good Shepherd, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's actually pretty damn accurate. The skull and bones initiation rite and everything. That's what Charlotte Iserby, granddaughter, or Charlotte Iserby, said. I can't remember, but she was like she was the woman who exposed Skull and Bones. Like, they got a hold of the that's how we know that George Bush was in it. Even like they went inside and someone grabbed the ledger of like members or whatever.
I apologize. I had to go calm my daughter down.
It's all right.
Have an autistic child. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
You were talking about Skull and Bones?
You know, just how the secret societies or the frats are, that's another recruitment arm for the system. And though that Good Shepherd movie shows exactly how that worked. You go
That's some
further up
freaky.
into it. And yeah, no, but that's how they recruit you for Walt. But now it's not like you just for the CIA. The CIA, honestly, if you're an officer in the CIA, you're kind of like you're kind of nothing. It's Wall Street. It's the big banking firms. Those are like the mid-tier those are mid-tier managers in the managerial caste. But that's like, if you want to work your way up to the managerial caste, you literally have to be crazy corrupt almost all the way up. This is why guys like Donald Trump are very strange. Like, assuming, like, because I've never heard anything corrupt about him.
Well,
Like,
and
that's
with how
legit.
much people hate him right now, and they've dug into him, and the worst thing he could do was like he as a banking thing, and even the
Yeah.
bank didn't want anything to go wrong because he repaid his bills.
Yeah, I mean, he did business like the pageant shows is kind of scummy work, and that, God knows what was going on there. I don't like that. That's like, but being in show, I don't know, but he had like six. I don't know. It is crazy. But if you work within the guidelines of a corrupt system and you work within the laws, then technically it's all legal. It's fine. It may be corrupt. You
Mhm.
may not like it, but that's kind of how you become a billionaire.
Yeah,
So
I find
Congress
it
made it
interesting.
legal.
I'm gonna
yeah,
find it interesting on a different topic though. How so you know the reason they haven't released the Epstein files, haven't you? The reason they haven't released it is because they keep getting blocked by the federal government. And basically, the theory that I came up with a couple weeks ago is if they get the Congress to vote this into law, then all the obstacles go out of the way.
no, it's all right. So it's technically a few judges that are blocking it.
Like 3 or
Because
something.
well, they're
Or,
blocking because they were in a grand jury. They were in a grand jury, and there's like a statute limitations on, like, you can't let people know who was in there or like anything about it because it was all under seal. But the president has the power of disclosure of any classified material. So this would be one of those arguments that, once you do it and you ignore a judge's order, it would be challenged and probably go to the Supreme Court. And then but would he wait for that to go through the Supreme Court, or would he just do it? Like, we're kind of waiting for that moment where he just calls the Supreme Court's bluff. And I think we're working to that logical conclusion. Like, I see them just maneuver. They're almost like trying to like find where that point is, where it's like, okay, the Supreme Court is acting outside of the national security interests of the United States. We're Andrew Jacksoning this situation. Like, come and enforce it.
I loved him when they did that. When they, I didn't love what he did, but the whole Trail of Tears thing came out of that. But his statement is like,
He
well,
had every
they
legal
got
right to do it. Like, I'm not saying it was a good thing either, but he had every
and they
legal right
sued
to do
him,
it.
and they got the Supreme Court to say you can't do this, and he goes, "We'll try to enforce it," and he still did it.
Yeah. And that's the classic argument, because we have not figured out how to deal with corrupt judges. That is like our big problem in this, and to fix this whole system is there's no way to get them out. They never self-correct. Like, technically they could impeach their own, like another Sixth Circuit Court judge could impeach another under certain but it's like a giant, like, no one wants to be that guy in that system, even if you see corrupt stuff. And then even if you do, they've got armies of lawyers around them, and the whole system will descend to defend that guy and destroy you if you ever dare step out of line. So no one can even do it, even if it's like, well, why doesn't someone do something? Because if the moment they do it, they know they're crushed. Like, it's not even a cowardly thing. It's like, you just can't, there's nothing to be done. Like,
The system is so protects the system so well that it just
you wouldn't even get anything off. And I mean, there's been a bunch of judges killed. Some very recently. There's that lady that was murdered with her like whole family, like inside their house. She was like a state Supreme Court justice. And that just went that was like 6 years ago.
Was it Minnesota or Michigan?
No, there were some
that was
recent
recently.
ones. Those were some
Those guys
congressmen.
Those were state assembly members.
Yeah, those were weird enough Democrats, but they might have, I don't know. I'd
And
never
he's
really.
saying he
Loaded
was
is wrong.
ordered to do it by whatever that guy is, the governor. Yeah, Tim Waltz. Yeah. He would order them to go do that stuff. First off, anyone who orders you to go kill someone, you better be getting paid some good cash. Second
Also,
off, like, damn.
yeah. Also, I just, there's so many. It's one of those stories that you can't believe any of it. It's so obfuscated, which is kind of like the Charlie Kirk thing. They throw 1,000 details that lead you to nowhere that are all rumor, and then now no one knows what's going on anymore. Like they can't cover us up from talking to each other, but they can just flood the zone with just craziness and propagate it. So through just automatically through the internet, just AI. Just
Thinking of Charlie Kirk, did you watch that interview with the head of security?
no, because I felt like it was gonna make me mad. Just I saw some of the clips and I was like, I don't know, dude. I'll wait for the news articles to drop afterwards. How about that? And see but which never
I don't
happened
know. It was
after a
pretty.
Sean Ryan show. Maybe once or twice that's happened, but
It was pretty convincing what they were saying, though.
yeah,
When
no, I'll probably check it out.
all the operators there were vetted, and this whole Jewish conspiracy thing, it
But
doesn't exist.
well, that's the thing. I mean, yeah, but that's not really what the serious people are discussing. Like, did Israel have a
Well,
hand
yeah,
in
but
it?
they went
Maybe
through it. He went through and asked
he
them
just
all. He
got
got
it.
all the conspiracy notes, and they went and asked him the
Got it. I
questions.
see.
And
Yeah. So that wasn't like the whole thing. It was okay.
no, it was like first they went through they explained their qualifications
So
for how that security company vets their people and gets them in there. Then they went through like the whole like lead up from Japan all the way till like the end of when he got shot. And then Sean Ryan, while they were doing it, they were asking certain questions. But then they went through and just debunked all these questions, and it maybe I'm just a sap, but it makes a lot of sense the way they
what did they
described it.
say? Like what happened then? Who did it?
They didn't say they're not saying that they're saying that this whole thing from the microphone blowing up crap, right? He's like, how, they debunked that. He says that was controlled. They don't that was all controlled stuff. The thing that got him all Twitter paid it, and I was watching his face and his eyes, is he's like, there was a 7-foot window where you could put a rifle in and get access and shoot to them. And who called off the local cops, because they were the ones that were supposed to cover that area. That's outside their area of operation for the security. And the cops continuously told them on all the fronts that this was covered, this they got this, they got that. And then the day of the event, they gave them 6 operators. And the thing that I thought was interesting is the correlation. The same statements were being made from the local people in Butler, Pennsylvania about the Secret Service.
Well,
so
I want to see the coroner's report. Oh, there isn't one. They never did it for
they
murder.
did it.
Well, where is it?
You can FOIA it. I put in a FOIA request to see it.
That's what I mean. They haven't put it out yet. Well, maybe it'll come out. Who knows?
I
called
Utah. I called Utah today and asked the coroner's department in Provo if they had a thing and how would I FOIA it, and they said you and about 5,000 other people.
I was gonna say you're one of those guys.
Yeah, I'm like, fuck it.
Somebody's gonna do it if it's possible, and if it isn't, then that's weird. Maybe it is. I don't know. Who knows?
They said, but the county confirmed that it exists. They did an autopsy, and the president of the vice president stepped in and accelerated it. He said, what do we need to do to get this taken care of? Because they say it usually takes 2 to 3 days, and they wanted it done now. And the White House stepped in and cleared a lot of the federal obstacles and all that stuff so they could go and do it. Because they specifically didn't want to have the JFK, like, why didn't they, take away a lot of the questions for this stuff?
Yeah, it's still early. Maybe they'll come out with it. I want to see that. I want to see the bullet. before
Well, you're not going
any
to
of.
see the bullet.
Well, he said there's
But
no
he's
exit wound. They didn't recover the bullet.
well, the bullet when he said that I heard the doctor say this, that it went in and hit it hit C2 in the neck,
Mm-hmm.
and then it went down. So it came in at an angle, hits the vertebrae, and hit all that stuff on the way in. Went through the jugular, hits the vertebrae, and goes doesn't go out. It deflects and
I
goes
get it, but
down.
they did an autopsy, right?
They
So where's
did,
the
yes.
bullet, or what was it? They can at least tell us the caliber that they
They said
found.
it was a 308 caliber, so
They
that's
said
30
that
caliber.
in the autopsy. That's what they're now officially going with that. That's news to me. I have not seen that.
Yeah. They said that a 30 caliber bullet, fragments of the bullet were found because of the damage the bullet was secured while it was flying in. And it went and did damage from C2 all the way down to L6. And that's
Okay.
where it stopped. The damage stopped.
So now I have to believe that that's possible, which bullets
Hey,
do funny
man,
things. I know
bull,
people say that. That a window 200 yards away.
it was
That's
145 yards.
I know I'm rounding. I'm being generous. So 100. Thank you. 145 yards away, 30-06 through the neck, goes this way down through a spine and blows up inside the body.
But look at it like this. It came in the neck like this. It came from this side and came in. And it's already going in a downward direction. So when it hits L2, it deflects and drops back and down some more.
This is like
It's
Magic
not,
Bullet 2.0. I don't know. This is weird. I don't believe. I mean, that's hard to believe.
I've seen bullets on gun hunting and stuff do some weird shit that they're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
Is it a reloaded bullet too? Maybe it was under pressured. How old was the ammunition?
That's
There's
my
so many
point, though.
factors.
It's like if this is the official story, fine, but it doesn't. I still don't. It's still too crazy. They gotta do better with that. I mean, this is a simple gunshot wound. They should be
It
able
wasn't
to.
a simple
Well, not you
gunshot
know what I
wound.
mean. It's like it's a single point of It's not like some mystery that needs to be unwound of how he died. It's like they found the bullet entry wound. They just got to follow it, reverse engineer it. You know, not.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
So
We
the
didn't come to talk about that, but
yeah,
yeah.
no, the
Yeah.
outline of what I've been trying to lay out is kind of the general outline that I think a lot of people intuit. I don't think a lot of people are able to verbally say all this out loud or put it all together. Like basically how our system has been co-opted by essentially a mob state. Wars are fake. I mean, this is why all the wars are fake, and it's not hyperbole to say this. Like we've been caught. There's very few things left in our society that aren't in one way, shape, or form a con job. Like,
Yeah. Well, there's always a backdoor motivation for a lot of stuff. Yeah.
I mean, you can't
Exactly.
really go to source, first plate, like, what other countries do to get basic goods or things. Like it always is through middlemen who do all kinds of crazy, terrible things to everything. And government's all being captured and the judges are all captured and they just overthrew the government and they run active psyops on us. So we can't trust anything that's going on ever. But this is why this thing in the Caribbean is potentially a sign that there's a responsible faction that want to take back the United States legitimately, institute the Monroe Doctrine. And the only way to do that is to cut off all the criminal activity networks that are going on in our hemisphere. And then because they're
Well,
parasitizing the United States, we lose $2 trillion a year from these folks. That's just the cash. Forget about the damages. So it's become a
my
massive
question's
operating
been,
cost.
you know how many times I've been at Fort Bliss and you go down US Highway 58 and you go right past the front gate of Fort Bliss and you go, there's a straight road right into Mexico. Why can we send all these guys over to Afghanistan and Iraq and all this stuff where we had to put them on planes when we have a country to the south that we can drive in and stabilize,
Well,
but we don't.
I think that's what's basically happening, but there's
Yeah.
an escalation to these things, and we have way more sophisticated approaches to topple governments that are sustainable now. Like if we go in and do old fashioned takeovers like in the 20th century, you have to hold that ground and basically get all the people to be like you and understand your system and play along. That takes a massive amount of money and energy and effort. So that old fashioned method of invading and holding ground is for very specific situations.
I I agree
Because
with you, but this is the thing. In both Afghanistan and Iraq, if we would have gone in, kicked some ass, got what we needed done, and then stepped back and supported the locals to go in to do their own thing, in both instances, we wouldn't have had an insurgency, and we would have had a stable government. If we can
right,
go
but
in,
the point was not to win, though. It never was the point of that. That whole
it wasn't. You're exactly right. It
okay,
wasn't to win.
right. So I'm just saying, though, you do an occupational force if you want to run a police force to run cover for illicit operations, but mostly to just help destabilize and kind of manage that civil war between the Sunnis and Shiites to spread out throughout the Middle East and topple all these other regimes through color revolutions. To, I mean, Syria, Lebanon, they're making a run at Iran. This is why people are really suspicious of Israel because they see all like the last 25 years. I mean, the Gulf War, my whole life being involved in this area of the world, and it's always running like ostensibly, for as far as the public is concerned, one of the reasons is to help secure Israel, right? That was now they don't say that anymore, but when I was growing up, that was like they're going to come kill the Israelis. We got to stop them. That was like a main push. So that's
Well,
part of where
and
all these. Go ahead.
the big problem I have with Israel is the Israel of the Bible is not the Israel we're working with today.
Yes,
And
correct.
a lot, and they're two different things. They have the same name, but the King David's Israel is not the Israel of
The
what we
Israel
got
today is
now.
a British outpost. That's all it is.
And then, yeah, and the British pulled out and it collapsed. And the thing that I think's interesting is why do we have to give in to the losers? The Jews were able to put together a better army, and they went through uh, there and kicked
I,
some really good ass, and they won.
I feel like I lost you somewhere. Like we're kind of. Do you understand? Like
But
the. Okay.
I understand. But I'm just saying when the British pulled out, officially, but they're still there, and then people came in from Lebanon, and the what is it? Palestinians started fighting the Jews. The Jews put together a really fast, really kick-ass army, and they won the territory they're in.
Well, they also had a
That's
lot
what
of
I.
air support.
Yeah, but they came and bought all these old bombers from World War II
No,
over
I'm saying
here,
we
and
gave them air support, a lot of it. Um, like I mean, that was not. It wasn't official, but that's really like the 7 Day War. That was a part of it.
well, because of
Yeah,
that incident is why the United
well, here
States
it
doesn't
is.
sell.
What you guys are trying to ask or going down the road is, what are we getting out of these, right? You know, all these wars in the Middle East with now Venezuela, right?
Yeah,
We're parking stuff there.
yeah.
And what are we getting out of it? What is at this moment, because it was different presidents in the past, right? That would start these things. What is Trump getting out of uh, this huge move? Just this chess piece that he's doing.
Yeah.
One is he's beginning the process of securing the northern hemisphere or the western hemisphere as a whole. And if you know how the different countries are laid out, so that deal with Argentina, that was helped to kind of keep the government that we've helped install in power. That's a friendly, ostensibly. Um, you've got Peru, that's going to be a problem, but that comes later. Brazil, we've got Bolsonaro as an agent working in there. That's a friendly for the Americans. The other countries, Paraguay, the other ones like the northern top, that's all basically run like the conduit to keep those nations going is Venezuela. In terms of access to the Atlantic, to the banking systems through connections and local, because the way these systems work is everyone gets their piece and then they subcontract out to their, to people further down the supply chain, just like in any other business model. So if you're closer to the source of where things come in or where information is or to information, you're managing it de facto. That's Venezuela. So you take out Venezuela, you cut the head off of that, of this tentacle creature of all these different cartel groups. Because you talk to, like, I know some guys that were like connected to gangs in Houston, and it's like everyone chips up to the cartels at this point. There's not a single gang. They've dominated everybody. And when they say the cartels, that means the cartels all interoperate with each other. Yeah, they have, blood wars and, take each other out in turf wars. And turf wars always go on, and they're kind of managed little conflicts because if too much heat comes on any one of them, they all suffer. So there's kind of an internal regulatory system to keep that stuff to a minimum. But if one of their rivals shows weakness and they can do a clean job of taking it out for a business venture, yeah, they'll kill each other. No problem. That happens all the time.
And not to sound cliche, but the democratic process has been completely subverted in Mexico. And it's been completely subverted in Venezuela and Colombia by these cartels. Like the last election cycle in Mexico, 30 something, what is it? 30 something people who were running for office were just flat out killed.
Yeah, it was 27.
You put your name in the
27 in the what do you call it? Not the combatant, the adversarial party, like the party that was taking them on that one.
Anti.
Same thing's happening in Germany. They've lost 23, I think.
Yeah,
and
well,
AfD, Alternative for Deutschland, they're under attack. And you see this is happening all around the world at the same time. There's all these populist nationalists like, let's make our countries, like, let's take care of our own people again. There seems to be an internal, like a factionary, like a war going on at the top. And I think this is something that takes place over, because you can't just make these things happen like that. You kind of have to set the stage for this operation of this scale over decades. Like this isn't so if this is real, what we're seeing is going to continue. They're going to continue to secure North and South America, and they'll use color revolutions. They'll use soft power. They'll use, financial, like we're cutting you off. You see Trump doing that all the time. Scott Bessent does, and Scott Bessent, who runs Treasury, he worked for Soros before. He's the guy who came up with the idea to short the British pound. That was his play. So he's like a master of overthrowing governments with currency swaps and bond trading. He's incredibly sophisticated. So
how do we get him out of the? I thought.
Well, look, his family is from North Carolina. He says this all the time. Like, and he doesn't really get into the drama of things. He's a very steady Eddie, like even keeled type, like something Wall Street just eats up. So like he's on the camera, he just does really well for like, he kind of keeps everyone calm and very professional, and he knows what he's talking about. His family's an old family from North Carolina. They've been here basically since the beginning. He talks about that quite frequently. And the way he speaks, you can hear a certain love. Like he's trying to say, I love my country, and not so many words. Like he's signaling, like, I don't want to see, I'm sick of seeing this being destroyed by stupid people. Like, yeah, these people have done corrupt, evil things in the past, but that's just how the system worked. But it's gotten so messed up that now their homes are under attack. So if there's probably been, and it's an ongoing process of getting people to flip.
Yeah.
And that's what Trump represents and all the nationalist movements represent around the world. And the weird thing is they don't really have a lot of funding. There's funding, but not that much. I mean, here in America, there's quite a bit, relatively speaking. But if you're looking at all the other parties, like that are getting into power around the world, it's tough. Melania, there is a mob that is behind her 100%, because that's just how Italians roll. Like that's just who's run Italy. That's who will run Italy. That's how it's always going to be. Like there's forever.
Yeah.
And we have our own mobs. We got the WASPs and all this stuff, but we also have, we kind of have a coalition of parties that are coming together, that are more individuals, that are smarter, because you kind of have to be sophisticated to not be compartmentalized, to see the whole thing. There's not many people in the world that actually are able to do that and then have clarity of mind and thought and the courage to actually do something about it. And Trump may be one of those people.
Well, at least that's the image they're putting out.
That's the image they're putting out. There's a story of him. Anyway, I don't want to get on a tangent like that, but I'm hopeful in this.
I'm not saying that you're not correct, but
the moves that are being made are very real. And like the guy who, like Patrick Byrne, called that Mexico was next. He said the next shoe to drop is probably some color revolution in Europe. If I had to guess, probably France. They just tried to arrest Marine Le Pen. That's the nationalist leader over there. Well, that was like a couple months ago. On like campaign finance charges, like put her in jail for a year or two so she'd miss the election, like openly corrupt stuff like that. And
that's interesting that they did that at the same time that in California they just did that to some of the higher Democrats, campaign finance stuff. Did you read about that?
Yeah, I don't think they're related. I just think it's a part of how lawfare works.
It's an interesting correlation.
Well, you're gonna see that as any mechanism. I mean, you're seeing guys they're going after some of the most corrupt people with like mortgage fraud. Like they're going after Liz, what's her name? Liz James.
Oh, Letitia James?
Tish James. Yeah. It was like Liz. That's not right.
Yeah, what is it? The big booty lady. Yeah.
But her mortgage fraud allegations, side note, are crazy. There's apparently not a single deal she's done in mortgage that wasn't like done in like some other name or like some other, like every single one of her mortgage deals she lied on.
False documents.
Like badly. Like her dad was her husband on one, like her first and like all. And so, and it's not even like, I kind of like, compared to the corruption we see, that stuff's like, okay, whatever. But
the thing that's interesting is how they've linked it to like Adam Schiff has done the same thing with all his mortgages, is what they're saying.
All these Democrats, everyone does it because you're smart if you know how to play the system. And if you have air cover from your people, that's like their biggest weakness. They're all corrupt.
Yeah.
So if like honest people that don't have dirt on them ever get in charge of the levers of power, they're totally screwed. They know it. Like somebody that doesn't have any dirt on them that they can't find anything on. That's why I think, I mean, they're rabid about this. I mean, they're obsessed with Donald Trump. They can't stop thinking about him because I think they know that he probably, if he wanted to, could destroy their lives, because they think that the right operates like them. Like there's a bunch of money backing the right wingers, like like all this institutional dark money. Like I hear it from people over here. They think we've got like our own George Soroses running all over the place. And I'm like, we got the My Pillow guy and like a couple billionaires that won't come public that kind of back
they
Trump.
just destroyed the My Pillow guys.
Yeah, I mean, there's like one of the only one, and then a bunch of like vet coffee companies, and half of them turn tail and run whenever the heat comes on, like Black Rifle.
That's the one that was crazy about Elon Musk when he got in there. It started like, holy crap, that guy was giving out $1 million. That guy went nuts.
Yeah, we'll wait and see on old Elon. We'll see, but he's right about the human population. That is a good sign. That he's at least not a. He appears to not be down with the suicide cult plan. So that's good. He's got something else he wants to do. So
did you see the interview with him with Joe Rogan a week or so ago?
I've seen the clips, but not the whole thing.
I hate the clips. They're not.
I can't listen to him the whole like for 3 hours. It's just too annoying. But I don't know. I figure like if there's news, it'll be in Twitter.
I don't believe that. I believe that I want to hear my own lying ears and my own lying eyes. I want to interpret
I
it
do
for
that for
myself.
certain things, but at this point, I've got a pretty good stance on like I kind of know what Elon's going to say and what he's about, and that there's a few like
He
when
said
he
some pretty surprising things. I've been watching Elon Musk for 7 years, and he took some pretty interesting stances. Some stuff I didn't think that he was that you know it was
no,
pretty
I mean
interesting.
these guys see which way the wind is blowing, and they understand like they're either going to get a Bolshevik revolution or a this populist revolution where they
Well, he
figure
was
out a new
saying that,
business model for the
but
United
he's right
States.
there with you because he was saying that what really got him all wrapped up was the COVID and how everyone bought into that and how authoritarian they were trying to be with everyone. And he was saying that it was a trial run, just like you say. A lot of the stuff he was saying is like mirrored in what you have said.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying is generally the consensus of the people that are kind of at the forefront of this. Like I'm not like there's a few things maybe that are unique, but most of what I'm saying is regurgitation and me just putting it together myself from others and just going back to source material that they go to. But I didn't know any of this. I listen to these people and you learn quickly if you listen to the right people and you're paying attention and you can track a storyline.
But at the same time, I've always believed that the simplest solution is usually the correct one.
Cody,
And
what have I said that's simple? That all of this is true though.
I'm saying that, but if
Not
you
all
get
of
to the
it, but generally speaking, it's
once you step back and you take an you overlook it and you understand what they're trying to do, it's not complicated. What the way they're doing it is
yeah.
complicated, but what they're wanting and what they're going for is not a complicated
Wh-
concept.
what do they want?
They want power. It's what everyone wants. They want
Right.
control.
So, well, right, but to what end?
It's whatever ends necessary to get their goal. That's the scary
Slavery.
part.
Yeah, which is like, what's the logical conclusion of all this? If we keep
That's
They
going
want
with
to
that
enslave
business model.
everybody to do what they want,
Mm-hmm.
to follow in line with. They control all the currency, all the products, all the industries, all these kind of things, and they just have drones.
Do you think that they're all drones, though?
This is
Do you think any one?
coming from a perspective from outside of my reality. I'm thinking more of their reality, what they would like.
well, talking to the lady that comes and works with and Phoenix here at the house, and just pointing out simple things, and then you hear their point of view. The amount of brainwashing that's going into these kids is just amazing. The amount, and they're young and impressionable, and you just point out like you guys are worried about this over here. What about this over here? You guys aren't even looking at this horrible crap over here. And you guys are so focused in on your social bullshit over here. Like
Yeah, but you'd
today
have.
she was going off about police brutality. And I'm like, you think that's bad? We should start reading up on civil asset forfeiture.
Why do
Now
you go to
that's
this
some
therapist? Like, who is this lady? Like,
She comes to the house to work with Phoenix.
oh, why is she talking about police brutality?
Well, she's also in college. And when Phoenix is doing her things, then she wants to talk about school. So then we have conversations about like,
Oh,
well,
okay.
you think that's bad? You should look into this. That
Yeah,
makes sense now.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
like
no, it's institutionalized. So it's like it's just hard to kind of accept because it's like you come to a point where it's like, okay, this is actually happening or this is all theoretical. Like you kind of cross a bridge at a certain point where it's like, okay, now this is reality. This isn't just some story. Like, you start seeing it in your everyday life where you're like, oh, this is real. So I think
Yeah.
that's kind of where most people haven't it hasn't hit yet. That's why COVID was so powerful, because that's like the first touchstone we've had globally of something is able to run a centralized control command throughout the entire global system, and everyone does it. That's remarkable. So
Well, and the way that Anthony Fauci and all these guys really manipulated it, and it was just the same. It's the same old thing. They were telling you stuff they wanted you to do for the money. It wasn't because it was better. It was for money and power.
yeah, but if it was just for the money, don't you think they could at least give us like vitamin C and call it an amazing wonder drug or something? Like
But
it's a
how could
Maybe
shade.
they?
crack
How could they?
Lotto.
But that's not what they were going for. They were going for the expensive alternatives. They wanted you to spend the government to spend all this money, and
Yeah.
it was an emergency, so they wanted like Pfizer, Moderna, all these people to be making it, and then you could see where they're getting their kickback from it.
Yeah, and then
Because
once you're sick, you're on the cycle now, and then you're constantly having
and
problems.
they're only treating the people who are sick. There's no preventive medicine, and then they skewed the results.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, once you've been psychologically damaged and mesmerized by fear, your health is going to deteriorate permanently unless you snap out of it. Because if
Oh, dude.
you think your life is constantly in danger, that's cortisol constantly rushing into your system. Wearing a mask, like breathing your own stuff in, you're thinking like what that did was, it's more than just what the mask was. It's like it literally to you have to admit yourself that was stupid, or else you're never going to have systems analysis awareness ever again.
Well, I had to admit it was stupid, and I didn't follow along with it when the guy who was pushing the concept gave all this information in the very beginning saying how masks are ineffective. And then I read all the information. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And then
What
all like immediately flips the script and no, everyone has to wear a mask.
what do you think the point is I'm trying to drive at, Cody? Corey? Sorry.
Oh, my brain went somewhere else while you guys were talking about that. My brain was, what if we or an entity um, goes against like what Trump is doing and some of these other the cabals or whatever you want to call them, naming a system that's out there and touches them in a way that they're not used to. Um, what balance would be upset, and what would be um, the response?
Yeah, like, well, part of it is like, the people that are aware of this, that are middle or working class, are like the ones that have woken up completely, are like ready for public executions. They're like that, and they're not even being overtly violent. They're just saying we have to kill people for this. Like, this can't
Mhm.
be like, I mean, legally. Like, if we're gonna have a rule of law, we can't just let people walk around that did this to us. Like, I'm not saying go out and kill. I'm saying through the judicial
Like,
system. Like, you can't,
yeah,
like, you
like
have to arrest
to,
and start trying people for treason and
Punish.
mass murder. Yeah, you have to, like, and you have to make sure, like, this is extremely public so people know never to do this again. This is the most evil thing that's ever happened if this is all true. And then that's where the cognitive
yeah,
dissonance comes in, because it's like, well, if this is all true, that means we'd have to go upset the apple cart. Just like, if we, I mean, that would dismantle the whole system as it is. And if we did that, like, what would take its place? Like, that's not how this works. Like, you need to have a replacement, like you're
For
saying.
the
Like,
void.
yeah, you have to have something, or else just more bad. You just breeds more monsters.
Different monsters.
Yeah,
yeah.
sometimes more vicious ones,
The snake, the head
more
that you cut
desperate
off the
ones.
snake grows back two that are even worse.
Yeah. So how do you strangle this thing, or base, or like kid? That's the, how do you kill the Hydra? You know.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah. You stick a mirror up.
Well, that's a Medusa, but
Oh, that's right.
yeah.
Yeah,
She,
get your Greek stuff, man.
Hydra, you stab it from underneath in the belly with a sword, like really, really
Yeah.
deep. Get it in there,
Mhm.
like, but you got to get underneath it, and that's kind of the pattern that I've seen over, like, strategically, is it's move and then judo flip, move, like use their momentum and logic to counterattack in the same logic. Use like, and then now if they cut the money supply off from these guys, finally, now that finally the military has been restructured enough to the point where they've been able, because the last administration, you know what they really found out in the military is who was compromised potentially.
Mm.
You know, some people did, like a lot of generals that like, you know, that I've talked to, they're like, yeah, I had no idea these people were that bad. And we
But
just got
generals,
that signal. They're all completely like institutionalized and bought off. They have no situational awareness as to what is happening and the consequences of their actions. Some do probably, but most of them are just going along for the ride. And that's at the high level management of the military. So now so that's a good news, because you just got to get rid of pretty much those guys and colonels and anyone else that causes static along the way.
The
um,
bankers.
the
Well, I'm
impression
Bankers
I'm
of the
thing
talking
is,
about
military.
controlling the military apparatus, the
Yeah.
hardware itself. Like, what do you mean about the
what's
bankers?
impressive is they just put the the top enlisted and the top officer for Hawaii, the guy that's concentrating over that command in the Marine Corps, walked in and just fired him. You guys, and the lower generals and stuff have gotten enough support from Hetzvik that they're going through and they're cleaning house too.
Oh yeah,
This
no,
guy's a two.
that's what I'm saying. They are cleaning house of leadership, because they've quickly identified that to be the real problem. Like, after, like, I almost wonder, this has been the theory, and it's kind of where QAnon spun off as a limited hangout, which it gave you a bunch of, you know, weird codes that you got to like figure out, made you feel like you're in on the, like, some super spy club. But there is something to the process of um devolution, to devolve the system, that you have to literally work it backwards. Like, you have to wind the spool back up bit by bit by bit. Like, there's a critical path to this process if you really were going to effectively combat it. And like, how I because this has never really been done this quickly. Like, how do you deprogram or denot? Because this, like, the Germans went through a denazification program. The
And
Russians
just so
gone
we
through
to be
the.
clear, we're not saying that these people are Nazis.
Yes, I am. Absolutely, I am. Are you kidding me?
Well, yeah, they're socialists,
Dude,
but
they've killed way
I
more
mean,
people at this point. They have racked
yes,
up a much bigger body count.
well, that's a
So,
true
Like,
point.
along with
Yeah.
what Colin is saying, not bankers, but it's the lawyers, because OSS was the lawyers for these systems, right? You were saying, and then in the middle management of the CIA and all those kind of stuff are these lawyer types. And I'm
Well,
thinking, is that also similar to what the middle management of the military, having that same concept?
well, I mean, if you look at the German, the generals that do well, I mean, all of them, like, it's a joke. You know, you
yeah.
go up that, you go past generalship, and you don't get some office job at the end, some really nice, working at Raytheon or some other contractor company or intelligence, or, and you keep your security clearance, and you just get called on to act as a consultant for and you just ride that gravy train and just, you know, make a ton of money.
Yeah, I've heard for years that like Raytheon and Lockheed and stuff, they would hire these generals because those generals gave them, you know,
Access to preferred
well, they gave,
contracts.
yeah. So then they're like, hey, we can't give you it to be a conflict of interest, but we can hire you when you get out of here.
Yep. And then they set kind of, like, I mean, the budgets and all, I mean, all these tech trees are set decades in advance. And when you're inside and you know what you know, you don't just start a new program or a program for, you know, a system overnight. Like, they plan, like, a new rifle. It takes like them over 20 years to figure out what the next rifle is going to be. plenty
Oh
of
yeah,
time to
and
figure out who's going to be the winners and losers and like what people to place around for certain things. And it's cheap.
and
It doesn't cost the companies very much overall to get, compared to the contracts they get, they'll pay crazy amounts of money. And
well,
then the
like
same
look
thing
at
for the
Sig versus
pharmaceutical
well, look
companies.
at what happened with Sig versus Glock in that whole thing, and they actually got a more inferior pistol, but Glock was cheaper. But
Yeah.
who was, and I like Sig. Sig makes a good pistol. I'm not, but I'm saying that they played the game,
Yeah. I knew it as soon
and
as I saw it was SIG. I'm like, get out of here. That is ridiculous.
that
Like
that P320 is a piece of
these
crap.
aren't competition shooters. I mean, you ever been to an armory, like in a barracks or something? All the rifles are just bummed, broken, banged up beyond belief. They've been in use forever. And and they get messed up quick. Millions of rounds go through some of these things.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that's a side note, but this is what I mean. You can't look anywhere in the system and not see a predatory internal logic that goes right back into Washington D.C. or Wall Street or all these systems. Like it is top down run, and you just have to look at where all the wealth is distributed. So
Well, and that's how Nancy Pelosi can be a multimillionaire.
yeah,
She
you don't.
makes $300,000 a year, but she's worth $20 million.
At my
And
local level, you can win an election, but unless you play nice with the developers and get them on your side, you're not going to probably win. Like that's how you win an election. You go to developers, they write you a $20,000 check and you win. You barely have to
hey, if
fundraise.
you vote for me, you might get that thing you've been working on over there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but these are nice companies. They have nice offices. It's not sketchy. It's all out in the open.
I know, but sometimes you got to pay to play, man. It's just,
No, it's just how it works, and it's how it's always
yeah,
worked. And I don't know. I'm a naive kid, and I didn't realize how bad it was. And I wonder like why. But I keep going around. I'm like, I don't think anyone else knows how bad this is. Like, this isn't normal. This isn't a sustainable system. Like, this will fall apart. And
yeah.
I know that because no adult has sat me down and said, "Here, look here, son. This is how it works." Like I've had to figure it out for myself. Like why is this news to me? This has been going on for a long time. So it must mean that everyone has bought into this belief system effectively. Not everyone, but on the margins, but for the most part.
Well, what you get is you get these young, impressionable guys that come in here and are going to change the world. And then they get corrupted by the lobbyists. And they're like, well, these guys are making money and I'm over here getting my ass handed to me. I want money too. So yeah, it's just after like I've met so many people that are Republicans that went in with the best of intentions, and they're up there for 2 4 years as a congressman, and now they're trying to become a senator, and it's just they're a completely different person. It's like
They lose track of the game of like what the main game was. But the problem is none of them really knew what the main game is. They just say, well, I'll be more conservative. They don't understand like the overall gamesmanship that their, positions are played. So vast majority of them are honestly just uneducated. They don't know for the most part. And they just follow you know, what do you call it? The conventional wisdom. Because it's safer to go in crowds, as everyone knows, like especially in politics. Like you
well,
stand
yeah,
out
I mean,
and put your own neck out. Now all of a sudden you're target, and the system self corrects
well, that's really
and
hard to
knocks you
stand
out.
up in a what is that? I went to a church one time. Remember that, Corey? And I got pissed off, and I stood up in the middle of a huge crowd of men because they were chanting and stuff, and just walked out of the room.
Oh yeah, you told
Done.
me about that story.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've heard that.
it's hard to stand up and be the guy that's walking out of the room because
Yeah, I've also kind of I don't know, but it looks like there might be some serious people that have figured out a way to do this without one person standing up, but one person ultimately did, I guess. Like one person had to be the figurehead to rally around, because that's how the old systems that are not corporatist, this mercantilist, financialist religion, which that's how EM Burlingame describes it. It's financialism is really a religion. It's got nothing to do with baseline economics. It's like it's got everything to do with leveraging and monetizing assets. It doesn't like that's all that matters really. And that's why they're pushing this AI. Like now it's an AI bubble. Like who saw that coming? Just all these text. It's as clear as day. And now they're like, oh yeah, there's an AI bubble. It may or may not come. I actually wonder if it keeps going up because they're advertising it too much. And I'm like, it might be kidding. People are trying to squeeze them out because that's all it is. Like, where do you invest today? Like what do
That's a
you
very
even
good
know?
question.
Like how do you even know? Michael Burry dropped out. He was short and everything. He's like, he's done. That's the big short guy. He was like, yeah, I got this thing figured out. And then he just dropped out the other day and he's like, I have no idea what's going on. I can't price for anything.
And that's the guy that was in The Big Short.
That's
That's
the
like
big short guy. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's
So
crazy, man.
that's the situation. That's why gold is going up and up and up, because that's neutral. That's like everyone's shifting to neutral, waiting to see where the first domino falls, because they all know it's about to start cracking. And the good news is the United States will probably be the first. Capital is fleeing here very quickly because we are the most stable country in the world right now. And also that has the size of consumer market that we do.
Yeah.
And that's why security is really important to keep. That's like our biggest asset is actually the citizenry in this country. And I'm not saying that to be a bleeding heart. That's technically true. Like the fact that we can self-organize to a certain degree, kind of fix our own problems for the most part. You go to Europe, they're just, no one knows how to do anything.
Well, but it's not that way everywhere. Because look at California. They went through and they're completely like that European model. They can't do anything. But
Well,
you
the
go to
cities,
Texas,
you
go to Texas and they flood out, and like all the Texans are out there helping each other. Let's get this done. You go to North Carolina, they get a flood through there, and they're in there. Well, no one's going to come get us. Get a chainsaw, Betsy,
Yeah.
and let's go out and clear the road.
Yeah, it's in our genes, and we're also spread out enough that we have enough of that left in us. So that makes us incredibly more resilient to stuff like this. So, and if they can secure and get the drug, and it's not just drugs, it's everything that comes with drugs. The human trafficking is way more profitable, but drugs and human trafficking go together like that. So you cut off all those illegal, illicit supply chains that the IC has been running, all their black project operations to run color revolutions and running these NGO groups all around the world that are running soft power plays in countries. Like, why are we having rainbow flags in not Israel, but like there was some Middle Eastern country.
In Afghanistan.
Yeah, Afghanistan. Yeah, like they actually had they had
murals painted of George Floyd.
Yeah, they had
stuff.
the audacity and the muscle to confidently go into Afghanistan and do that. Like that's honestly kind of more impressive than anything. That's like, wow, okay, that's because that's kind of a flex. So
it's kind of impressive that they,
if they
could do that.
If this happens and they actually are successful in this, then Cuba's right there. That's next. Cuba's kind of like that's where all this, that's kind of who taught. The gangsters in Cuba kind of ran and helped manage Venezuela and get that set up with the CIA. And then you cut off the Caribbean, then South America falls like dominoes, and we have the biggest naval power, relocate the ships back where they need to be, open the Bering Strait, get a tunnel, start trading with Russia, and Europe can go to hell.
Well, hopefully, from what I was looking in that Bering Strait stuff and all the stuff that you've been throwing our way. And really, we need to Trump's not going to get it done in this period he's there. We need to have like JD Vance come in and finish it.
And that's why elections are also important. And Venezuela is where a lot of our election that is the company that we buy our equipment from. A lot of it,
Yeah,
like the
it
hardware.
was, Bestichma or whatever. And then the servers that for that company were in Germany.
I
Remember that?
I think so. I don't know. There was a lot of maybe. It wouldn't shock me. They're a part of. I mean, they're tied into the general IC apparatus. I mean, when I say the IC, I'm talking about European Five Eyes countries, the British Commonwealth countries, and the United States. All are linked up in this web of their interagency process, and they
Yeah,
all work with each other. Like if you need something sketchy done in America that has to be quiet but lethal, you get the Germans to come in and do. They'll do it. They'll come and
the
assassinate some of your
Germans.
people. Yeah, they'll send
But
American what?
where did the where did the Dutch fit into this? Are they just the money?
Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Dutch have they have a really high level special forces too. They have good
I'm just saying we haven't implicated the Dutch in this, other than me talking about the ships from the
well, when I say the
Netherlands.
British, there's the British Dutch system. Yeah.
Oh,
British
okay, okay,
Dutch Venetian Roman system. And when I say Rome, I mean centralization system. That's what
yeah.
Rome represents, centralization of power. So the monarchies represented, boiled it down into everyone had their own deal. That's how the United States was built. You got the head of the country, but then it's all the states are like their own countries, really. And then you
Well,
got
they are.
your
Yeah.
counties, your counts that run the counties, your barons and your local lords run the townships, but they're elected positions. It's the
It's a
feudalistic
thing.
model of Europe, of
If
England, just with elected positions.
Well, how many Corey can attest to this? How many families? There's a reason that that chick that runs the state went with Grisham, Lujan Grisham. Um, she didn't take her. She took that hyphen. Lujan is a big family in the history of New Mexico. So that's the reason she didn't. She made sure Michelle Lujan Grisham that was brought out in her because of the family influence. So it's just, and there's like families in each county here that they're like, this is the influential family.
So
Yeah.
we probably got to wrap up here. What any last thoughts? But I mean, I'll put a pin in it. There's a very good chance that this is the first time since the revolution that we might be an actual sovereign nation. Like it takes a long time to consolidate a hemisphere.
Well,
So
Trump's definitely like going.
yeah, and it's been a
Go.
long war and it's still not, and it won't be over, but these enemies that have plagued us for hundreds of years, the city of London, Amsterdam, Venetian, European, the Continentals, and their mercantilist control grid is looking like it's coming to an end, and then we'll have to figure out how the world is balanced with China and Russia, and then everything else is falling under one of those spheres of influence. And I don't know what Europe's going to do. Basically, we have all the leverage on them and can just squeeze them until they do what we tell them.
Yeah.
So and that's AKA all the nationalist parties. So that's their off ramp. If they want to stop the pain and get the spigots open for their money supply and start doing business again, so they can sustain their populations and don't have guillotines being broken out again, they're going to be forced to be in that position. So that's assuming they can pull it off on our end. So we're going to see the fate of the world unfold within the coming years. We already have, but it's looking good. I can say it's
Yeah.
looking very good right now.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think
So
anybody saw how it was going to happen and how far it was going to go. Um, I'm just, I don't know how he's doing it because he's got it figured out where a lot of other people, yeah,
He has a lot of old families backing him that understand what's
that's where
happened.
Charlie Kirk came in. He was the coordinator for a lot of that stuff.
He had a big input on the youth on getting on breaking the fever of the culture at the youth level. Absolutely. And that translates up to the adults. When your kids are all sounding alike, the adults
Yeah.
end up coming along. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Fascinating
Huh.
times, though.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Crazy.
interesting.
So,
Yeah,
but
and
this
where
should
do
all
we
be
invest
kicking
in?
off within the next
Y-
this will all be
By the
over before Christmas. Let's just put it that in
well,
Venezuela. In Venezuela.
it's like Trump gave him till the 27th. So he said that he had till the 27th to figure it all out. And I would suspect that I would be very surprised if if anything goes down before the 27th of this month.
Mexican Independence Day is coming up too.
Yeah.
20th. So, and I think Mexico, Venezuela, I think a lot of things are going to happen very quickly. I mean, if someone puts up a fight, an actual fight, I'd be that would be but the thing is, the last point, sorry, those aircraft carriers and parking them right off the coast, like instead of like, why are they not sending things when they're like 600 miles away or 300 miles away? Like, why are they right there? They're parked right there.
Well, the
They're going to
Jared
be,
R. Ford is about 100 miles south of Puerto Rico. That still puts them
yeah,
about 400 miles offshore,
they,
which
right.
is nothing for, yeah.
No, but they could have, like, before they even came close, like be off the coast of Carolina, they could have been running sorties.
Well, this is the interesting part is it's like they're saying they're going, well, where's all the troop buildup? I'm like, we got the 101st Airborne and the 82nd Airborne sitting there ready to go. And it's the first time that they don't have to forward deploy to go into anywhere.
Yeah. And so real quick,
Let me just
finish this thought real quick. So and then I'll be done. When you're menacing like guys that know they're outgunned that way, they're going to everyone start picking their phones up and start calling everyone and going, hey, what are we doing? Like, what's the plan? Like, and then all these things are lighting up all over the place and bank accounts are lighting up. So Treasury's got through their fintech, they can see everything. They have total control over the central banking. Like they can see all of it now. Like everything has to get cleared through Treasury now. Internationally, that's in the dollar system. So all these old, and they've backtraced and gotten all. If I was them, and they have Palantir and all these AI systems that God knows what they really have, that could reverse engineer this stuff really quickly in live time and start putting phone numbers. And Trump said in the Oval Office today, he was like, "We know where he's saying this to the drug kingpins. He's like, look, we know those. Like, we can hit you anywhere on the water.
Great, yeah.
We know where you live. We know what your front door looks like. We know exactly who you are. So
yeah,
we'll see what, like, we'll see, but, and that's like being broadcast everywhere. So people are panicking and now they're lighting up the whole system at once. Like all of a sudden, when everything turns on at once from an electronic warfare standpoint, you can start bing, 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 target. Like you just figured out the whole system pretty much. And like where like things are coalescing, like where a bunch of them are. Like, okay, let's scout that out.
It's like those Navy ships running offshore. You think that they're just running there, or they're listening, they're figuring out where all the radar stations are, so they can go kill.
No, I think those two Dutch ships, those are spy ships as well.
Well, no, but I'm saying like you got like every day, dude. I've been watching marine traffic. The Navy doesn't turn on their transponders without a reason, and every day you see at least one cruiser destroyer going by the shore of Venezuela.
Yeah, they're telegraphing.
And it's like
100%.
They're flexing and they're turning on all their shore batteries and stuff, and it's like every time a plane flies by, they're picking up the information on where all this stuff is. They're mapping it all out.
Yeah, exactly. So
and they have the Ocean Explorer out there too. Have you seen that too? The ghost ship?
Yeah. So they're doing everything they're supposed to be doing if they're being serious right now. So, and it looks like they're serious, so that's good.
They're serious.
What is that noise? Anyways.
Yeah. All right.
Well, it was, we're not meeting next week because of Thanksgiving. that sound good with you guys?
Yeah. I'll be out of town.
So, yeah. And I'll get that stuff up. Anyways, that's business, and we'll talk about that in a second. All right, guys. Thank you for watching the podcast. Look for us on Spotify and Apple podcast, and we'll talk to you guys later.